Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Double 18 podcast. I am your host, Stephen Nagishi. Normally, I usually have Rashab Shakiri from YouTube's Windy City Productions with me tonight, but he is busy with his work. Um, Full disclosure, I had a terrible bad day. I had to take the day off because of a food poisoning like situation. So we're going to try and power through tonight. But my guest tonight is somebody who is very, very familiar with the Chicago sports scene. You may have seen him and heard him all the time from CHGO. Excuse me. It is Herb Lawrence from CHGO. Herb, thanks for joining me tonight. Thank you as always. And how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on, Stephen. It's a great night. It's March. It's not that cold out here side, and
Absolutely.
so things are going well.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Usually, Chicago at this time of the year, or weather-wise, can be a hit or miss. So I'm very glad that things are very nice over there in the Windy City. So, all right, let's get right to it, shall we? Herb, we had the NFL Combine over the weekend, and I'm sure you might have paid some attention, if
hmm
not all of it, because obviously you have other things to do and you don't have the time to sit in front of a TV for 5, 6 hours looking at every single prospects. But when you were looking at the NFL Combine this past weekend, what stood out to you in regards to the relation, anything related to the Bears in terms of the position of their need?
Well, the fact that Caleb didn't do anything, that is just a regular thing that the number one pick or the projected number one pick overall doesn't do. But he did participate, and there are reports that he was still in line with all the rest of the players. He just didn't throw or do any of the tests or any of the medicals there at the NFL Combine. It's a new day for these prospects, especially if you're the number one pick. Like he seems like he's going to forge his own path as far as not having an agent and also look for some more player empowerment, which he had at USC. So for this whole weekend, I looked like the guy was, people want him to be a prima donna and want to have him be this guy that is not of the Bears.
Yeah.
And even I sent out a tweet, one time when somebody was talking about he doesn't want to play for the Bears, he wants to play for Washington instead. But
Yeah.
this weekend, some things changed. Minds. I'm a Justin Fields guy because he's the Bears quarterback right now. So I could see the writings on the wall though. So this week in the combine, seeing that Caleb was full to participant, and then when they talked to his USC teammates throughout this whole offseason process, they've had nothing but glowing reports about the guy. And so it's a good thing that the Bears, if they're going to be going in that way of Caleb Williams, they have a person that is ready to take on the mantle, which is Bears quarterback.
Yeah, I think, initially my feeling was, he and his, handlers led by his father pretty much was dead set on maybe trying to steer Caleb to Washington, which made a lot of sense because he's from Washington, D.C. And, the D.C. Commanders, they have brand new ownership, and that includes Magic Johnson, who was obviously a phenomenal player back in the day, and he knows what it means to have a star quality of Williams to a franchise that has been completely decimated by more than 2 decades of Dan Snyder ownership.
Mm-hmm.
But do you feel like those questions about his intentions and whatever that was, considered a red flag, the height, the weight, and all that other stuff that has been kind of pretty much answered, or do you still would like to see him do, maybe you have some questions with regards to his intentions or where his mindset is right now?
The thing that only red flag raised this weekend is that he didn't do any medical evaluations. There's, a lot of wear and tear on that body. The Bears need to know what they're getting. If there's something degenerative in there, which more than likely it won't be, but, the Bears need to get him into their facility, have their doctors go over what Caleb Williams is all about, Or if Caleb Williams will set up a pro day at SC, then the medicals got to be shared, because you can't draft this guy number 1 overall as your franchise quarterback and then find out, kind of like Kevin White had, bad shins, and he had a fracture in his shin. And so you got to know exactly what you're getting. Even if it is some wear and tear, you can live with that, but though, you can't have the thing where he's just showing up to camp and saying, "Hey, I'm not doing any of the medicals for you." That's a prerequisite before you draft him. And if he doesn't acquiesce to that, that is a reason you move off of him, because you can't have that. You got to know exactly what you're getting as the player. And I hear that they're, bringing him in fairly soon to have him, have more formal meetings at Hallis Hall. So that's the only red flag I have there. I don't necessarily believe the Washington thing. Yes, anybody would like to play at home and bring his Washington franchise back to their old glory days, which he probably doesn't remember from the 80s and such. But they got the number 2 pick, unless they're giving up an historic haul, as the reports say. Bears are going to stay on Caleb Williams, and they should stay on Caleb Williams unless somebody comes with a ridiculous offer that you just can't turn down. And still then, you do your evals on everybody. And if at the end of the day, Caleb Williams, having him as a Bear, is more valuable than having a bunch of picks that could help the team out overall, you take Caleb Williams, you still pull that trigger and never look back.
Yeah, at this point, I think myself included, who've been kind of wanting to see Justin at least get a fair share. And we'll get to that comment. We'll get to that in a little bit later about the Williams versus Fields discord. But, you mentioned the number 2 pick, which obviously Washington has, and they do need a quarterback. And certainly the gap amongst the quarterbacks, other QBs, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix. Those are the top 5-6 quarterbacks, I think, who are expected to go fairly high. Looking at this draft class right now, is it Williams versus basically all the other 4 or 5 quarterbacks, or do you see not that much of a difference between, say, for example, Williams and May, or, even Williams versus Daniels, in your opinion?
My opinion is Caleb Williams is the clear-cut best quarterback in this draft. And this is the silly season. This is the season where you get all the stories about the players to either hype them up or to push them down. And people are talking about Drake May. It's got like a 2nd-round grade, and he won't be the 2nd pick. And after all we had evaluated over the offseason and the seasons were done, it was Caleb 1, Drake May 2, Jaden Daniels 3, et cetera, down the line, Michael Penix and other players. Now, I'm hearing J.J. McCarthy getting mad talk about in the top 10 of getting drafted. Like, he hasn't played a game since he finished the national championship. He hasn't gotten better. Like, I know people saw him, height, weight, speed, do the throws at the combine, so they're enamored, but also I don't see it. I don't see a top 10 quarterback, a franchise quarterback out of J.J. McCarthy. This is why I think the silly season is upon us, because we're getting people who I don't think J.J. McCarthy should be drafted in the 1st round at all. And they're going to have him in the top 10, or people are going to be trying to get back into the 1st round and do a developmental thing with J.J. McCarthy. I'm totally adverse to having a quarterback sit on a bench unless you have a Pro Bowl quarterback or Hall of Fame quarterback like Brett Favre was there for Rodgers, or Rodgers was there for Love, or you had a all-pro in Alex Smith there for Patrick Mahomes. If you're doing that, cool, I got you. That's a good way to develop a quarterback. And with the 1st-round designation, you get the 5 full years of doing some development for that quarterback. But otherwise, yeah, J.J. McCarthy doesn't make sense to me as a top 10 quarterback. I don't know what, I think when you get in these guys into shorts and they're running and they're throwing passes, people start getting enamored by things that are not the game. Turn on the film. Turn the film on and see what you saw, and what your eyes told you initially should guide you. This interview process, this combine stuff, I think has come a little, has come and gone. It's usefulness, and people are getting drafted higher. I wouldn't say that he should be in that top thing, but if I had to go, it'd be Caleb is number one by far. And you saw Drake May. I think he probably is not a top quarterback, even though at the end of the year, people mostly had him as a top quarterback. Jaden Daniels just won the Heisman Trophy. So, and he played in the toughest conference in football. So if you're winning the best trophy as the individual player and you're the quarterback that's available with all the athleticism that he has, I don't, he's got Lamar type traits, and he's a little slighter than what Caleb is, and much slighter than when Justin is. So that's the only knock I would have on him right now. Like, he needs to gain some more weight for this NFL. But yeah, it's a quarterback league, of course, and we're gonna get 5 quarterbacks maybe drafted in the first 10 picks, with Michael Penix maybe in that mix too. So it's like, I don't think those quarterbacks are top 10 worthy. I know Caleb is. I don't know if all the rest are.
Mm-hmm. Now, regarding Williams, I know a lot of people would think that even as a rookie, what happened with CJ Stroud of the Texans seems like an outlier, obviously leading the team to a division title in his first year, considering how bad the Texans has been the last couple of years. Can we expect something similar with regards to Williams, or do we need to kind of temper our expectations with Caleb, in your opinion?
No, I mean, this team is a veteran team that almost made the playoffs. Like, you look at the 3 losses they lost where they had big leads in the fourth quarter, versus Denver, versus Detroit, and the other one was, I'm forgetting right now, but they lost 3 games where they should have won those games easily. And if they would have won those games, being 10-7 instead of 7-10, they're in the playoffs. And all those people are pretty much coming back. They got the mentality, especially the defense, like, hey, all we need to do is shut down teams and not play as poorly as we did in the early portion of the schedule. And then our quarterback, whether it be Justin or Caleb, has to just do his job. Like, as a rookie, they're going to expect him to elevate the team to the next level, because you're replacing Justin Fields if that happens there. So you heard all the players to a man almost saying, yeah, I love Justin. I want him back. And of course, what would they say?
Of course, yeah.
Anyway, but I thought it was sincere, especially DJ Moore, who had his best individual season that he's ever had as a professional. But those vets, DJ's going to expect the ball. He's going to expect winning from Caleb immediately. And yes, you saw what CJ Stroud did this year with a Houston Texans team that wasn't as close to as the roster wasn't as close as good as the Bears. Now they have Laramie Tunsil, where the Bears don't have that big time left tackle that is an anchor, and it's a good start for a rookie quarterback. So that's another thing that I would love for the Bears to go out and invest in, because I'm not too sure that they have a good left tackle out there right now. I'm blanking on his name right now. It was like a 5th round pick from a couple of years ago.
Braxton Jones, right? Yes.
Yeah, he's done all right, but I don't think he's a real high caliber left tackle that a team would need to have. So, like, if they draft Caleb Williams, they got the quarterback. Then they've got Montez Sweat as the defensive end, and then they can get another defensive end on the other side. They have cornerbacks that are really great. Now you need a left tackle, and that's, if you get those type of players, you get those key positions already locked out, you're pretty much ahead of the game. So they need to find a left tackle, maybe in free agency, which they're never there because people keep great left tackles, or a left tackle like in Joe Alt from Notre Dame to come here and set the standard and get the great player Caleb Williams protected for the rest of his career.
So I think we pretty much kind of accepted that, Justin Fields is more than likely be traded. And the question now becomes when and where he is going to get traded. There are a lot of conflicting reports about, which teams are involved or interested in, what quarterbacks are on the move, etc. For example, Kirk Cousins, it seems as though, according to Pro Football Focus, is that they have somebody very, very close saying that Kirk is ready to move from Minnesota to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And then Baker Mayfield is more than likely has already signed a deal with Tampa Bay. So that announcement could come later this week. But where do you sit on this, trading Justin Fields? And where do you think, and what realistically can the Bears get out of this at the moment right now?
I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, excuse me, saw what they saw of Kenny Pickett, and they're like, good, not great.
Yeah.
And yeah, Mason Rudolph, good job in the stead of the two quarterback where Mitch was terrible and Kenny Pickett was fine and did all right and got him to the playoffs. I think they're a quarterback away from being really good. And now I know people are going to look at me and say, well, Justin's not really good. I beg to differ. The numbers might say that he is of this caliber, but I also think that the Bears held him back. And so we already know that Mike Tomlin is a big fan of Justin Fields. The Pittsburgh Steelers do have a second-round pick that the Bears would probably covet. Second-round pick plus. So I'm not sure. It's not going to be second and third round. It might be second, fourth, sixth round. Second, a good player coming back on the other side. There was a lot of speculation like, oh, they're going to pick they're going to get a first round pick for Justin Fields. If you're getting a first round pick for Justin Fields, firstly, take it. But then secondly, think about it. And it's like, why is somebody giving me a first round pick for a player that I want to discard? And so maybe I should think about that again. Maybe he's better and the people in the league think more highly of him. But the trade talks kind of like stale this weekend. But I think the best place for him to go is go under Arthur Smith, the former Atlanta Falcons coach. He's the offense coordinator up there at Pittsburgh, and go to that offense because Arthur Smith will put him in a position to win. The games won't be on his shoulder. They will be. We have one of the best defensive ends in the game, in TJ Watt. Our defense is stout. Scores 21 points. Scores 24 points. Justin, we got Warren behind you. We're gonna do some work on the run game. Yeah, Deontay Johnson's not great, but Pickens is. You can get to him. We'll get some more people around you, and we're ready to go. Yes, it's a tough division, one of the toughest in the NFL, but I think that they're Justin Fields away from really competing. And maybe not for a championship. I think Justin can grow into that type of player, but he needs to be exposed to it. We've seen Lamar Jackson struggle in the playoffs himself. I think you need the experience of playing in the playoffs to actually succeed in the playoffs. So I would love for him to go out there because I'm firstly a Mike Tomlin fan. I'm a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers organization and how they get people and develop people the proper way. And so Oakland's not probably, or LA's not, or Vegas is not going to take him because they have the guy out there. Atlanta, as you said, it looks like Kirk Cousins is their choice. If I was the Falcons, would want more of Justin Fields, but they probably want more of a floor where that's what Kirk Cousins gives you, NFL above average floor. He's not going to go much higher than that, but you know what you're getting with Kirk Cousins if he stays healthy. Justin right now has got a low floor, but a high ceiling. So it's a gamble for any of these NFL GMs to take on Justin Fields. But do they trust the tape? Do they trust their coaching staff to bring him in and develop him? We'll see. And I think that Pittsburgh is the perfect organization to do that and to lend him some lending hand and say, hey, you're going up, actually. You're not, I got you. You feel bad that you're losing the Bears, but we're a better organization and we're in a better position to win than what you're leaving. So we're giving you an actual good olive branch, like you can take it, and we're going to be in the playoffs for a long time here.
My guest tonight is Herb Lawrence from CHGO. You can see at the bottom of the screen scrolling, you can find him on Twitter also there as well. Stephen Nagishi and Rishab Shakiri, my normal co-host, is off tonight. So we're going one-on-one with Herb Lawrence from CHGO. Herb, the other couple of positions of need for the Chicago Bears obviously are, the center, wide receiver 2, and also free safety, just to name a few, and also edge to offset the pressure of Montez Sweat right now. Ryan Bates was acquired late last night in the trade, which was kind of a shocking one, because I know the Bears signed him to an offer sheet 2 years ago when Ryan Poles took over, only for the Buffalo to match it, and now he becomes available in 2 years later. So, did the Bears give up too much even for a 5th round pick, or are you concerned that Buffalo just gave him away to the Chicago Bears?
I mean, if the guy has conviction like Ryan Poles seems to have in this player, as a guy who used to be an offensive lineman himself and a tally evaluator, I'm gonna trust him in his evaluation that he thinks that this pick is valuable. They don't have a lot of picks, even though they have good draft capital in the 1st, the 9th, and then a 2nd rounder.
Yeah,
giving up a 5th is not anything to not sweat about, because they've gotten players, as we just talked about, in the 5th round that are playing for them currently. And so if this guy's getting traded for a 5th round pick, he's starting, he's playing for the most part. Like that's a guarantee for me. Like, you don't give up a 5th round pick for a player like this that is just going to be a depth piece. So they do definitely need a center, and that's some of the problems is you judge Justin Fields and you saw the games out there. Pressure right up his face. Like, which quarterback is going to do well with the pressure coming right in your face? And he's did his best, his level best. We saw him escape so many times from immediate pressure from different teams. The Atlanta Falcons being that game. I think at the time the Atlanta Falcons were a top 10 defense, but Dupree couldn't even come close to putting Justin Fields down. So, like, getting a center is very valuable, no matter what. Caleb, this is one of the knocks I have on Caleb. Can he play from under center? Like, I think some people poo-poo that and say it doesn't really matter. I think it matters a great deal. I think you properly get to see defenses. You get to evaluate reads a little bit more. It's not as the progressions are not as fast. And I think you're, as a quarterback, you have a chance to do some more things too. Like, it opens up your game a lot more too. And I think it also, for running back, as a former fullback myself, it's better when you're under center and you get that running start to the ball, and then you get to find where the hole's at, instead of you're stationary in the backfield right next to the quarterback and just getting a mesh point right there. And then are you running? Maybe not. Am I taking the ball? No, I'm like half and half. I think that creates some trepidation, some timid play, and that's not as good. So can he take the ball from under center? And the guy that I think the Bears should find a way to draft is Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon.
Right.
If you can, Bears, and I know this, usually they do this for trading up into the 1st round to get the quarterback, but I don't know if he's going to last in the 2nd round. Like, he more than likely will, and you can get him there early. But this is a key, and this is one of the times that I would actually draft for need instead of drafting for best player overall. And he might be both in those regards at that point. But the Bears need a center, and this guy has nasty written all over him. All the offensive linemen, pros, just say that, he's the goods, and he will be a 12-year starter for whatever team he goes to, and you won't look back. So that's the type of guy you need right in front of you, helping out your franchise quarterback that you're going to have for at least the next 5 years, and hopefully the next 10 to 12 years.
Yeah, I agree. I think
look at that.
Ryan Poles has really, really kind of ignored the center position, with misevaluating Whitehair and also signing Lucas Patrick. And I definitely think that this trade with Buffalo for Ryan Bates, to me at least, I tweeted yesterday, it's at least the Bears need a depth interior wise because of the health concerns surrounding both Nate Davis and
Yep.
Tevin Jenkins.
Yep.
So, even if they got Bates to be a center, I don't think that should stop them from drafting, either Jackson Powers Johnson or Cedric Van Pran of Georgia, who is a lesser prospect, but nonetheless is a somebody who could be available late second or third round. So I do think that the Bears really need to get the center position right, because I'm tired of seeing quarterbacks get pushed up the middle and then just get pushed into the center. I've seen too many times where Patrick or Whitehair get overpowered and pushed into the quarterback because quarterback just didn't have enough time to get away or see the field. So hopefully, polls really get the all the holes fixed before approaching the the NFL draft next month.
Yeah,
So
and that's a weird thing, as we said. Like Ryan Poles is a offensive lineman by trade, and so
exactly.
you would think like he would know more than most. Like, and
Mhm.
maybe I thought that Cody Whitehair was going to be more than serviceable, but no, his decline came pretty quickly and steeply. Like
Mhm.
he
Right.
became not a guy that you did not want on the field. That's how bad he was playing at times, and
He
so
was really bad. Yeah.
yeah, and that sometimes happens in football. Like you can just have a steep decline and you're not good at football anymore. I mean, we saw Peyton Manning with his degenerative neck at the end of his career was not good at football. So yeah, I would hope that they address center to be
Mhm.
a key position. And as you said, Nate Davis, you missed what a lot of games on some personal issue stuff. Then
Yes,
that
I think training camp he was barely available. So
yeah,
that really unfortunately carried on into the regular season. So it's unfortunately
yeah,
it
and you
looks
need
as
that,
though.
right? You need the cohesiveness as a offensive line to know where your guy's at. Maybe his strengths or your weaknesses or opposite. You can pick up on those things while doing repetitions instead of missing a lot of camp. And that's, as I said, not his fault that he did that. But you do definitely need to have some cohesive units there, and that's what leads to winning success there.
All right, let's look into free agency. Obviously, today was the deadline for franchise or transition tags, as we all expected. Jalen Johnson got the tag from the Bears.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people are kind of worried about the change of tunes, because it looks as though Ryan Poles was very, very optimistic about signing him to a long-term deal, but now they ended up having to tag him today, which was the right move. And I don't think no one expects Jalen to leave the franchise. Where are you right now in terms of Jalen getting the tag, and what seems to be the perhaps holding up this deal between two sides?
I actually think that it's just a precaution on the Bears' part, just to have it. You can always sign a long term deal up until training camp. They think they're really close on a deal. Like who is it that signed a deal or signed a franchise tag today with a different team, and they were like, yes, he signed it, and we were doing this, or you didn't sign it. We're doing this just to CYA, but
Mm-hmm.
also we just didn't have enough time to hammer out the final details, and it should be soon, type of thing. And I don't know if it's imminent with Jalen and his franchise tag, and then what's long term deals that there has to work out, which I believe they will work out. But I think it's not going to be too far in the future where we're not going to be worrying about it at training camp and all those things. I think they're close enough. I think that Ryan Poles understands what he got. And it was a prove it year. It was like, hey, we don't really know if you're that guy. And then he, on the trade deadline or the day before, he's like, I want to be traded, type of thing. And I don't think people at that time realized how damn good Jalen Johnson is. And then they start putting the tape on reel, and they're like, man, Bears got 1-1. That's a shutdown, lockdown
Right.
corner. You need to pay. And so I think Ryan Poles realizes that, and realizes that the number has to be maybe top cornerback in the game, if not the second. He
Mhm.
has to get the most total money as a cornerback, and they have the availability to do it. Now, the willingness, I don't know, because like being real, they have two other pretty damn good cornerbacks. I
Right.
mean, what they got out of Tyreek Stevenson last year as a rookie,
Yep.
damn good. And
Mhm.
the development of Kyler Gordon and what he's doing is doing well. And I can see a GM or somebody who's looking at money and just say, you know what, let him play on the tag. Let him play on the tag. It's only a certain amount of money, but we don't commit too much to him. And if he goes, if we, run out of options after a while, we got two guys who can replace him, or
Right.
and we're fine, and we'll get a different guy, maybe not a Kindle Vildor like they had a couple of years ago, but we'll get a different guy that be our slot corner or our
Yeah.
other corner. So yeah, I think the deal should be done. I mean, what do you think? Like he's
I do feel that the deal will get done. I do
yeah.
feel like the deal will get done. I think they're just kind of sorting out, the guarantee money versus the, the how much money does he get up front annually. I think those are very, intricate stuff that only, certified NFL agents can really handle
Mhm.
those things. So, but I do feel that, polls have every intention to keep Jalen Johnson. There's no question about that.
Mhm.
You mentioned the the cornerbacks that we have. Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson really came on strong after initial struggle.
Mhm.
Terrell Smith, that they'd also drafted as a
From
rookie, he
Minnesota,
also,
yeah.
yeah, he came in very, very nice. I think Kyler Gordon. Do you think he's more of a nickelback at this point in time, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, in this current iteration of the Bears, I would have Stevenson out on the corners with Jalen Johnson. I would walk Jalen and make him cover the highest guy because I think he's that damn good.
Mhm.
And I think Tyreek is versatile enough, and he's shown a couple times that he can play on either side of the ball. Yeah, and the athleticism of Kyler Gordon, yeah, he blossomed this year, I think, in his role, and so yeah, I think his athleticism and his ball skills would work well, and his length as far as a nickel, yeah, it would work well in this game.
So, looking at the free agency, which starts next Monday with the legal tampering period, pretty much, there are some interesting names that did not get tagged out there that will likely be available. We've already been hearing some names linked to the Chicago Bears, Daniil Hunter being one of them. Of course, that's probably the one player that we've been hearing a lot about this offseason already. We've heard about Saquon Barkley, who did not get tagged by the Giants,
Mhm.
as did Xavier McKinney, who is a very good, free safety. Obviously, the Bears cut loose Eddie Jackson. There is the need of that. How would you approach free agency, and how much would you be willing to spend? Do you think the Bears are willing to spend this upcoming free agency?
I would 100% be looking for a person that could play on the opposite side of Montez Sweat. I mean, Demarcus Walker, it was an all right season, not to my level. I think they need another person that is a little bit more getting to the quarterback, like Daniil Hunter. Like you can use that. You can use that, and I don't know how much money he would cost, but he would cost a lot of money.
Right.
But this is where you strike. If you got the quarterback, which they're gonna get, this is where you can do some damage. I mean, having Will Anderson on the other side of you as CJ Stroud, it's a real value that you have matching talents on both sides of the ball. And so, yeah, it would cost a lot,
Sure.
but you're on a rookie quarterback and a rookie contract, so it can cost a lot. It's in your best interest that it costs a lot to have everybody else be really expensive while your quarterback isn't. So you have to strike, and this is the point of the Caleb Williams signing. They have to win a championship in his first 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, they got to win a championship in the first 3 years, or come close to a championship in the first 3 years, type of thing for the Bears. And so, yeah, this is the time to push some chips in and do some damage out there. The Bears need help, as you said right there, at a lot of positions. I mean, for the most part, Darnell Mooney is ghost. We're gonna have a draft. If you have my way, I'm gonna have Joe Alt at the 9 spot if he's there, instead of having another offensive player, a skill player out there, whether like Rona Dunze, Malik Neighbors type player. So yeah, you need a lot of people out there who are valuable to the Bears and what they're going to be doing in the future. So I would be looking at somebody like, I'm trying to think of the guy's name. I'm blanking on it, but you definitely need some help in the middle. Like Justin Jones, I think, had a all right year. Javon Dexter is a thing.
Zach Pickens, unfortunately, didn't get a lot of playing time. That's a concerning part.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rookie, and that defense, I heard it's complex, especially for interior offensive line or defensive linemen. So, yeah, I think you can maybe use somebody there. I'm biased, of course, with my guy Johnny Newton, but I don't think he'll be available when the Bears are going to be picking in the second round. I think he'll be gone by then. But that would be the ideal 3 technique in this Matt Eberflus offense or defense here. So, yeah, I would do the big move on the second edge, even though I know you're already paying Montez Sweat that big time money. I don't know if H.A. and Peninsula feels good to you or not, or if you got.
No, I think Hunter will be a great addition. I know he's going to cost probably 20. North of 20. So if you sign Jalen and then Hunter, that's probably going to take up more than close to half or a little bit over half of what you have in the salary cap. And then you also have to have the money in order to sign your draft picks as well. So it will be very, very interesting to see what they do. I know Christian Wilkins surprisingly did not get tagged from Miami. That's another interesting name. Chris Jones from Kansas City. Not much of a difference in terms of age, but getting one of those guys, I think probably more likely Wilkins has been something that the fans are very curious. Obviously having a rotation in the middle with Dexter, Pickens, and Jones, and also Wilkins. It seems like a very good, a quartet of a pass rush that they can generate up the middle. That's something that the Bears really did not get much out of last year. So it will be very, very interesting how he spends the money. I think how he spends and who he spends on, I think, kind of give us a clarity, for the fans as to what they do in the, the draft, because you want to fill as many holes as possible. And, we might get pretty good true intentions out of the Bears as to what they do in the upcoming free agency. And that, other names I think I can think of are Curtis Samuel to get a veteran receiver, number 3, or Tyler Boyd. Safeties like Justin Blackman, obviously he played for Eberflus, so that gives him a leg up in terms of understanding the system and familiarity of it, although I would not rule out Geno Stone as well from Baltimore. Those are interesting names that I can think of right now. If you can add maybe McKinney or one of the safeties that I just mentioned, and then get an edge rusher. If Hunter's too expensive, obviously his price is only going to go up because Brian Burns and Josh Allen got tagged today.
Yep.
So that's going to be a very, very expensive signings. Probably the lesser talent, that might be cheaper than Hunter will be Bryce Huff from the Jets or AJ Epineza of the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, Epineza played at Iowa from the state of Illinois and played under new defensive coordinator Eric Washington at Buffalo. So that, familiarity might, sway towards, getting a younger, maybe, Huff is not a good run stopper, but, he might have an opportunity to grow into. Epineza obviously got overshadowed by Ed Oliver and Von Miller, and among others. So very interesting to see, how they spent that money and, how much money will be left Do you think the Bears will sign either Saquon Barkley or Josh Jacobs, or that's a wasted money on a running back?
Whew, I am of the mind that you don't pay running backs, especially running backs that are not yours, and running backs that have a lot of wear and tear and or injuries. So no, I'm not paying either one. And you have inexpensive, diesel enough running backs in your backfield. I think Roshan Johnson's going to be much better this second year. He runs with purpose. He runs angry, violent, and physical. I mean, when he's missed those games in the middle, you saw the difference in the Bears offense there. And so, I think that him, and when Khalil Herbert is hitting, he's a home run hitter. He's a physical runner that can catch the ball out of the backfield too. And I think that they have enough to get it done without paying Saquon Barkley money, because he's going to miss games. And if he's
Fortunately, yes.
and so, Josh Jacobs, same thing. You're going to pay a lot of money for that position. And you have enough salary cap to absorb something like that, but you have good enough, I think, running backs on your roster right now. And also you can just always draft a running back in this draft that will be, contributing to this team immediately, like Roshan did his freshman year.
About the 9th overall pick, I think we can pretty much put the Caleb Williams rumors to sleep right now. So now that 9th pick becomes a very interesting scenario for the Bears right now. You've mentioned Joe Alt, Olu Fashanu from Penn State. Those are the top 2 tackles that are available. You've stated earlier, Braxton Jones doesn't really move the needle for you at this point. But about the receivers, do you think that the Bears can still get, if Malik Neighbors or let's say Rome Odunze was available at 9, do you still pick him if those 2 are still available, or at least one of them are available, along with Joe Alt or maybe someone else that you might be interested in?
Of course, most of the draft stuff depends on what they do in free agency. So just say that nothing happens in free agency on the second wide receiver front, and all those people are available, where you have the left tackle of the future. I even though I know the sexy pick is go and get Rome Odunze because he's special. Some people think he's wide receiver 1 even over Marvin Harrison Jr. I am not one of those people, but
no.
People believe that, and they want to get into that because his combine was impressive too. But I think that you have to go and get the left tackle that is available, that is going to be a sturdy position for you for the next, like I said, 12 years, 10 years, if he can stretch out. And so I would get that guy, even though I think he would be there'll be people that'd be really sad because of Rome Odunze. It's going to be a great pro.
Right. Now, my feeling is if either Odunze or Neighbors or both of them are gone by the time Bears pick at 9th, then I would seriously consider trading down just to get more, picks down the road. And I know you're going to get some picks in return as well when you trade Justin Fields, regardless of, what you get in return. So I would probably get maybe drop in the, somewhere in the 14th or 15th, if it's possible, and go for, Adonai Mitchell, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, from Texas, who had a very good week and put himself out there. Neighbors' teammate Brian Thomas was also very, very impressive as well, even though, Neighbors got all the attention. But Thomas, I think, is a very good player as well. Let's see, who else? Probably, if Jackson Powers Johnson is somebody that the Bears are looking for, I could definitely see that. I don't know if Xavier Worthy, because of his size, I don't know if he would fit the Bears description of the receivers that, particularly new OC Shane Waldron is looking for right now. So I do see that there's a couple of interesting options at the 9th pick overall. I don't think the Bears are probably going to take Someone like Dallas Turner. I think that's just only if they don't sign anybody at the edge in free agency. Of course, I think Turner would be maybe a better fit somewhere else. I think he's a little bit more of a leaner side compared to, the kind of defensive ends, edge rusher that Matt Eberflus prefers on his defense. So, I think I'm pretty much resigned to the fact that 9th pick overall is somewhere where the Bears will have to likely do some business in order to get some picks and then still get some decent picks, decent players, excuse me, after the 9th pick overall.
Can they? I was just wondering, would you be adverse to them after drafting Caleb Williams with the first pick? I've seen this. It's happened on Twitter where somebody suggests you trade the 9th pick and subsequent picks to get up to 3 with the Patriots.
Yeah.
And swap out.
I've seen that. Yes.
And then you go and get Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right. I think the Cardinals at number 4 will definitely going to pick him. I don't think he's going to fall out of the top 4. Yeah. Marvin Harrison Jr. That is. If they really want him bad enough, I know some scenarios had Justin Fields and the 9th pick to the Patriots for 3rd overall and maybe in the third or 4th round pick as well in return. Very interesting to see how that plays out because I know New England definitely needs a quarterback. They're picking 3 overall. Are they going to stand pat and just basically get the whatever that is left after
the 3rd quarterback?
Presumably Williams and Drake May both goes 1 and 2. So that leaves them with J.J. McCarthy, Jaden Daniels, and Michael Penix Jr. So will be very interesting. Obviously New England is drafting for the first time without Bill Belichick in the building. So I want to know if they still keep the Belichick way or are they completely move into a new, different, front office format where, Belichick's influence is no longer there. And, they decide to, that team in New England, they need a lot of talent too. So, they definitely need to probably move down and get some picks. And they could probably, do so and, start building that team up from the bottom again. So I'm very curious to see your scenario if that plays out and if Justin Fields is going to be used as maybe like a bargain chip to move up all the way from, 9th to the 3rd. So, I could see that possibly, happening. And if Justin Fields doesn't get moved, and if they want to trade Fields separately to get a couple of picks in return, then that means the Bears will have to likely give up one of their high picks in the 2025 draft. And I'm very curious to see if Poles deviate from what he's been doing, or does he feel that go all in with Caleb and get the best receiver out there, and and hopefully that he can have a CJ Stroud type of impact in the upcoming draft. So next week is where obviously things are going to start. Where the ball starts to get rolling, and very, very curious to see how things play out for the Bears and the rest of the off season goes. Well, Herb, I really appreciate your time tonight, and you obviously belong to CHGO, which I believe celebrated 2nd year yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
That is correct. Yeah, our 2nd birthday. It was a great celebration. I still pinching myself that we are that they chose me to be, doing some stuff with them and doing White Sox coverage. So yeah, thank you very much for mentioning that. Yeah, it was a great day yesterday, and we're having some great shows every day. 5 o'clock for our White Sox shows.
Oh, good. 5 Central. Obviously, before working for CHGO, you obviously probably worked in a different capacity in media, whether it's a full-time or even, freelance. What separates, CHGO from traditional media, in your opinion? And why is it that, a lot of people are, seemingly gravitated towards, obviously, CHGO, obviously, Corey Del Mendo. There's also the Bears with Greg Braggs, who I'm very familiar with and have met multiple times, as well as others. What separates a CHGO from traditional media?
Well, I have a background in radio production, so the 670 The Score in Chicago. I was a producer for somewhere around 20 years for the score, and I went to San Diego for a year and did it for the Mighty 1090. So that's my background,
okay.
where I'm just a radio guy, sports production. And so that is a lot of, as a producer, it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff and planning with the host. I luckily had, which I think the best host ever in Chicago sports radio, Lawrence Holmes, as mostly the times that I did it. I had him as my host, and just a great relationship with him. We like worked perfectly because he would, have ideas and he would present them, and we would workshop them if need to be, but most times they were just, good ideas. So he was the driving engine of that, endeavor, where I'm more the background guy and
Sure.
I'm playing off of what he's doing. And I think we had a great synergy. With CHGO, I have two other partners. We use, or sometimes three other partners, because we have our other partner, Jarrett Willis, who's a part timer on both the CHGO Cubs and White Sox. And then my main hosts are Sean Anderson as the host, and then Vinny Dubers, our beat writer. So we have, pretty much free reign. We don't have a lot of oversight of us, and there's not a heavy hand over us. It's our show. We make it what we want to, and we're all creative about the process that we're doing. So that's just a different thing. I don't think it's better. I don't, to call it better for me would be weird, because I'm in it. It's just different. It's a different vibe of me in a more active role. Like, I'm active as a producer, with Lawrence and stuff, but he's doing the show. Like, he's the face of the show, and he's driving the ideas, and he's presenting the ideas to the audience that's out there. In this capacity, I am more, contributing as a, third of a group and a cohesive unit, and I'm contributing both with the ideas and the execution of those ideas on the air. And so it's, very fun, very enjoyable, even though the team that we cover,
Yeah.
not very fun. It's the pit. As a
That's a tough
fan,
one. Yes,
it hurts every time
it is.
I get to cover this team. The last 2 years, which is the 2 years that the White Sox have gone 81 and 81, and then 61 and 101, and it's been bad. And this year doesn't look that much better. So,
yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time tonight. I can't tell you how honored it is for me to have you on, and hopefully we get to have another conversation maybe next month or so when the draft gets closer, and whenever you're available, we will try and definitely reach out to you for your your dates and time as well. So I hope people enjoyed our show. Thank you very much for the great show, gents, from the Little Yumper. Obviously, he started following me on. Oh, you know him?
Oh, just the absolute best. There's no one
Okay.
better than Little Yumper. Yeah, he's got
Well,
a
thank
great
you very
show,
much,
Yumper and Swow.
Yumper.
You should watch that. Yeah, Yumper and Swow. They review movies and great opinions. Those are great guys, and yeah, one of the best guys, Little Yumper.
Well, thank you very much, Little Yumper, for watching us tonight. And for Stephen Negishi, thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully next week, Rashad Shakiri will be back and available, depending on his work schedule. But Herb, thank you very much for your time tonight. And we look forward to having you on next month, hopefully, when we have a better idea of, Justin Fields' trade and the NFL draft as it gets closer. Thanks for your time tonight, Herb.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you very much.